First take, straight talk with King Casa. How y'all doing on this beautiful Sunday? I have the lovely Miss
Angelina
in front of me, ready to get this first show started off. So what I wanted to talk about today was in 1712, a slave owner by the name of Willie Lynch wrote a passage called the Negro Marriage. And I want to hear your take on the Negro marriage. So this how it started. We bred 2 nigger males with 2 nigger females. Then we take the nigger male away from them and keep them moving and working. Say one nigger female bears a nigger female and the other bears a nigger male. Both nigger females being without influence of the nigger male image, frozen with an independent psychology, will raise their offspring into reverse positions. The one with the female offspring will teach her to be like herself, independent and negotiable. We negotiate with her, through her, by her, negotiates her at will. The one with the nigger male offspring, she being frozen, subconscious, fear for his life, will raise him to be mentally dependent and weak, but physically strong. In other words, body over mind. Now in a few years, when these 2 offsprings become fertile for early reproduction, we will mate and breed them and continue the cycle. That is good, sound, and long-range comprehensive planning. How do you feel about that? What Willie Lynch wrote in 1712. That's exactly 302 years.
I mean, I feel like it's sad because now it's kind of like that goes on. It's just no Willie Lynch per se. I just feel like it's really disturbing because it's like this was a plan from the beginning, like to kind of keep us suppressed, to keep us weak. And I mean, in a sense, in a lot of ways, we kind of buy into that.
What do you mean by us buying into it?
I mean, moms are still being stripped of men and raising their kids alone and raising them to be like the opposite sex. Except we don't have slave owners or, people to that effect taking the men. Like our men remove themselves.
True, so that's true in some instances, but some instances the system has a way of removing them as well. How do you feel like he was able to write this passage in 302 years from that point, it's still being lived upon? Like, how would you...
I don't think he wrote the passage and thought that 302 years it was going to still be that way. It just so happened that that's became our norm. No, we're not slaves. No, we're not in shackles. No, we're not picking cotton. No, we're not doing things to that effect. But at the same instance, mentally, we are suppressed. Like, mentally, we do feel like, okay, if this person isn't here or if this person ain't here, this is the reason why I'm going to do this. Or if I don't have a man to be here and play this role, then I'm going to raise my child like this. Like, I feel like mentally we didn't make him correct because no one can predict the future. Like, I don't think he was predicting the future. But he just had a formula. Like, if you take a woman who has a man and remove the man and there's kids involved, because there is no man, the woman is going to raise that child a certain way. Like, he just saw it for what it was, not because he was thinking about 2014.
He knew the psychological
process. He knew the mental process to it. So, I mean, and that's me in no way, shape, or form giving him any praise or any accolades or saying he was that smart. Because really, at the end of the day, he wasn't. He just knew a way to keep the mind suppressed. That would go for any race. That would go for anybody that's in that situation. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like this day and age, we have like our society is backwards. Like we focus so much on getting ahead and being the top dog and the head honcho. Like we forget to live and teach our kids the valuable things that they need to know. You know what I'm saying? And they get caught up in the system and they become subject to
So
things
what do
like
you
that.
see us as African Americans being in the next, let's just say, 20 years? I'm going to say 20 years, even though we have much longer than that. But where do you see us growing as a people in the next 20 years?
I mean, that's a good question. Why I say that is because the problem is not African Americans in any way, shape, or form. Like, I don't really feel this is race. Like, people have to understand people are going to be people and do as they do no matter what race. It just so happens we're just the ones that's publicized more. We the ones who are put in under that type of scrutiny and that type of and we make it easy. You know what I'm saying? Our kids make it easy. We got kids killing kids, teenagers beating up each other. We got a lot of things that are going on. I know here where we live in our community that unfortunately it puts us in a negative light. But I feel like us as African Americans are gonna be fine. We're gonna be alright. Because just as many as there are people of us who don't do right, there's just as many or more who do. It's just as many or more who give back to the community, who volunteer. Like, people pay so much attention to the bad, they don't pay so much attention to the ones who are raising their kids and making it work, and doing so, working at 2 jobs, sending their kids to school, and doing everything that's needed to have a productive child.
I will say, how can you pay attention to the good when the bad is publicized so much? Not that they don't publicize good African Americans, because they do, but mostly you hear about the bad. You hear about the murders, the robbers, the sex offenders. Like, I just feel like we hear more bad about ourselves than good. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like we do hear more bad about ourselves than good, but that's when it comes up a point where you draw the line as to what you take in. I watch the news, I read new articles, I'm an avid reader, but I take in what I want. I'm a positive person, so I take positive in. Can't no news station, can't no any news reporter, anybody tell me that my race is just bad and they just doomed because of this type of crowd. At the end of the day, I take in things that are positive, and I try to remain as best as I can to be positive. And I see stuff like that on the news, but I know people who are the opposite, and I know people who are productive. And as long as I know good, the bad will always be there. There's no way to rid life of bad. You just have to do your best to make sure you're on the right path and you're doing the things that you should, and surround yourself with people that are trying to do something with themselves. That way you can't focus on the bad. I have so much love and so much positivity around me as far as my friends, my circle, my family. I don't have time to focus on what the news is saying about somebody else. But
So what would you say about the old school African American mothers versus the new school African American mothers? Like, do you feel they dropped the ball, or they picked up where they left off? Like, how do you feel about the new school mothers?
I mean,
When
I just
mean
feel
new
like
school, I mean like women in their mid-20s, late 20s. You know what I'm saying?
I
As
feel like
new
it's
school.
kids raising kids. Like, you have to think about this. It sounds so cliche and many people say it, but it takes a village to raise a child. It's so true, You have parents and mothers out here who have kids. Unfortunately, the father leaves and they're stuck in a situation where they have a child. Back in the day, it was nothing to stay with your mom and take advice of your mother and, try to better yourself. People used to always say a child won't be the end. Just because you have a child, I don't have to be your future. Like, you can still make something of yourself. I feel like these new, I don't want to say new school moms, because it's moms that are 20 that are good mothers. Like,
it's a lot of moms that are in their 20s that
I
are
don't feel
very
it's a
good
level of age. I feel like it's really maturity. And unfortunately, we have young babies having babies. You'll find these grandmas that's in their mid-30s. As opposed to my daughter grandma that's in her 50s. Like, it may not seem like that's a big deal, but it is, because that means your mama had you at 14, 16, and maybe you had a child at 16, 17. Now you having a child. Like, it's no room for that old school feel, And what I mean by that is just like how older women move, how my grandma moved, and things she taught me and she let me know, and how to be a lady, you know. And I feel like we lack a lot of that. You have people now, they get mad at their kids, they want to kill their kids. The answer is throwing their child out for everything. They have boyfriends that are more important in their family. Like, this day and age, it's like we really kind of are lost. Like, we don't understand how pivotal it is to, like, give our children love.
So do you feel like their morals have changed?
I feel like their morals have changed, and not only that, their direction has changed. What's important has changed. Younger mothers now are worried about them getting themselves together. Back in the day, your mama used to be like, long as my baby have, long as my child have. It was about the child. This day and age, it's not like that.
So do you think that's due to like peers or like social media?
Peers, age, I mean, being immature, you know, TV, you know what I'm saying? Looking at other people and seeing what they have and wanting that, and not really doing what you need to do, not having the fundamentals to get where you need to be to have those things, you know? I feel like women these days, I mean, it's a lot of them who don't mind being on public assistance. They don't mind having Section 8. They don't mind staying somewhere that's dangerous to their kids, as opposed to back in the day, a mother was not going for that. They're going to do everything they can to leave and get out of a situation.
What about the mothers that really don't have a choice but to stay in Section 8 or dangerous neighborhoods because their financials aren't up to par? You know, what about those mothers?
I personally feel like everybody have a choice. It's all about knowing options. It was many moms. I mean, because me, I don't want to say I'm a young mom. I'm 27, but I have a daughter, and I raised my daughter majority by myself her whole life. And, you know, I would run into girls, you know, where I have my daughter in a daycare, and this is a daycare that's maybe like a 5-star center, and I don't pay anything for her to go because I couldn't afford it by my one income. But there's systems and things that are set up to help you and assist you, at least until you can get to where you need to be. And I mean, it was a lot of girls that I would meet, and I would tell them about it, and they were either like too lazy to fill out the paperwork, or so they don't want to answer that many questions, and they're not helping themselves. You got to help yourself in anything. You go on Section 8, guess what? It's ways you can get Section 8 and stay where you want to stay. You don't have to stay where you are. You have to know the system. You have to work the system, and not saying work it as in get on it and live off it and be set in with that, but know your options. Know what you can and can't do before you say what you can't. You don't have a choice. Everybody have a choice.
Do you think women on welfare is crippling their children in a sense?
I don't feel like women on welfare is crippling our system, because some people, I mean, because of their circumstances, they don't have a choice in that instance. I mean, you're being on welfare, you might not, if you only have one income and you're on welfare, that's not something you can change immediately. You only have one income house. That makes sense. I feel like women who abuse welfare are crippling the system. Yes, and I don't even feel like that's just African American thing. That can be anybody. Race. Anybody can abuse welfare.
Any race.
You can be on welfare. There's kids who have kids and can't take care of the ones they have, and that's sufficient for them. They'll get on welfare. They'll get HUD. They'll figure out a way to get food stamps and sell them. Like, that's who's crippling the system, not the people who really need it, because the system is designed for them. It's designed for the single income homes who may not have enough to live and be as they are, but they're trying. Like, that's...
What do you feel about I've been seeing a lot of videos on the internet and hearing a lot of things through social media about Caucasians using the N-word more loosely and not being afraid to be caught on camera saying it. Like, what do you feel about that? Like the Donald Sterling issue, you know what I'm saying? And the white lady that called the black guy outside of the, I think, Family Dollar, like, you filthy nigger. Like, what do you feel about them using that term more loosely?
I mean, I feel like hate has always been there. This is stuff they've been saying. It's just a reason now that by chance it's being exposed. I don't think that word is being used any more than it was used. It's just now you have instances, you have stories that are being publicized, and you got to think about it, who's posting these stories. It's African Americans that's putting these stories out there. This isn't the news showing Donald Sterling. His mistress recorded him. She's African American or whatever it is that she is. You know, even the man who was outside of the store and the lady was screaming the N-word at him, he's an African American. So I don't feel like anyone is being more broad about it or they don't care. It's not that. I just feel like it's being publicized. It's so many different ways now we can communicate. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, you know, just different avenues. Snapchat, you want to send a video. It's like so many things people do to communicate. So it's just easy to catch people saying and acting as they feel. And it's just being publicized for whatever reason.
Do you feel like the justice system is in favor for our young black youth?
I don't think the justice system is in favor of anybody, to be completely honest. I feel like the justice system is designed to do just what it does, you know, unfortunately. And I feel like our black youth, yeah, they get caught up in that, you know, and they make decisions. They're young. Kids are kids. Adults, I mean, sometimes adults are kids. Age does not mean anything. And I feel like our justice system, as much as it tries to penalize and keep bad guys off the street per se, I mean, there's a lot of crookedness in our justice system. It's a lot of injustice in our justice system, and it's not just towards anybody. Now, some people might say, you know, African Americans get the brunt of it more, but I mean, it's many people out here who the justice system hem up. It don't have nothing to do with race to me.
So do you feel like with the George Zimmerman trial, I'm going to use that as an example, do you feel like if Trayvon was a Caucasian and Zimmerman was black, do you feel like he would have got off? Or do you feel like it just really wasn't enough evidence to really bring justice to Trayvon?
I feel like that's hard to say. And why I say that is because, I mean, there wasn't enough evidence, unfortunately. Like, people can say, oh, well, he shouldn't have followed him. That is not why he was convicted or he was found innocent.
I mean, it's basically your perception of it all.
But that's why I say the justice system is not in favor of anybody. Jurors and jury are people amongst us. It's all perception. You know, maybe if it was a black person, he might have got on there and was painted as a criminal. They might have pulled up his past history and it might have been a lot of stuff that they pull over to show that this man was this or that, but that's hard to say. You know, I just feel like it was an unfortunate instance. At the end of the day, a boy lost his life, and I don't feel like justice was served, but can I say if he was African American and a white boy, what it would have been? I don't know what it would have been. Like, I don't know what it would have been.
Do you feel like they teach in school? How do you feel about the schooling system right now? I'm gonna ask you that first before I get to my next question.
It's sad. That's another sad thing. They don't pay teachers enough. You know, we take money and we dissolve and we put it so many places, but we don't pay the most important people, the people that's teaching our kids. Like, the schooling system is horrible right now. Especially
in Duval County.
Especially everywhere, you know, like.
They just got 22 Fs.
Not to mention they're so desperate they hire anybody. They're hiring people that molest kids, touch kids. Evidently the background checks and stuff is not what they used to be. Because I just don't see this. This never happened like it used to. You know, so I just feel like our schooling system is just, I mean, it's really sad, you know. And
do you feel they need to incorporate more black history classes, like so children getting out of middle school or high school can know their history?
No.
You don't feel like they need to? Why not?
Because I feel like that's up to the person and the parents to do that. If I want my daughter to know anything about that, I don't expect them to want her to know that. That's my culture. I want her to know our culture. And unfortunately, it's not important to them. So I personally wouldn't want them to teach it anyway, because I don't know what you're going to say. I don't know how you're going to spin it and what you're going to put on it. I would rather you get the facts. I would rather you know from me, somebody who I know is going to give you the right story. So no, I don't think they should teach it. I mean, I feel like if you have a teacher who feel like that's something to teach, that's up to them. But I don't think they should, because I feel like me as a parent, I'm gonna make sure she know that stuff anyway. I don't need anybody to teach my daughter that. That's just how I feel.
Okay. You're giving us some real good opinions, so I'm gonna just keep bringing them to you, and we gonna serve it up.
I need to stay.